Good afternoon, everybody. Today, we're going to be going over how we can make sure we have a process for fundraising that creates equity across all of our schools, but in a sustainable way that requires the least amount of initial investment. So the first thing we're going to go over is really establishing what the actual issue is. So we have an elementary school campus in our district that has been able to purchase smart boards and other classroom technologies through a successful PTA fundraiser. However, the remaining campuses still have significantly fewer financial resources to utilize to ensure that they have everything that they need to receive an equitable education. So my goal today is to build a fundraising system that creates long-term support while respecting the financial realities of our families that we are serving. In a perfect world, all students would have the same access to the same resources, but that's just not the reality that we live in, okay? Students should not be receiving different educational opportunities simply because of the neighborhood in which they attend school. That would be the ideal world, but again, that's just not the reality that we're living in. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the equity issue. So although our district or any district, hopefully, doesn't intentionally create inequality, relying on solely PTA fundraising has unfortunately widened the opportunity gap between the campuses that we serve. So as a principal, I'm trying to advocate for my students while building sustainable solutions that will work for the community around us. So some other things that we need to mention are that our district funding has been cut even further because the budget gets smaller and smaller every year. It's just the way it goes. We only have one strong PTA. We need to try and develop a better strategy to develop strong PTAs on every campus. Unfortunately, strong PTAs and socioeconomic status go hand in hand, right? If you have a community that has more money, usually the PTA is a little stronger because people that have more access to money and resources usually have more time on their hands, as opposed to our lower income communities who, they're always working, right? Trying to make things work. So they don't necessarily have time to participate in school events. So trying to kind of bridge that gap between time and ability to participate is essential. So we're going to be looking at two high poverty campuses that have fewer financial resources. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because we do not want to have a big upfront investment for any type of fundraising that we're doing. We want to, make sure we're at low cost, the more money, low cost, but we need to try and have a large margin between cost versus gains. And then, of course, mentioning the unequal technology access. Because of this, students receive different educational experiences, and this is based off of their zip code and not necessarily their potential. So here are some things that I believe should be guiding principles as we work through this. Equity, sustainability, community partnership, and family accessibility. So every element of this fundraising plan is grounded in these four principles. Fundraising should never place any more additional financial burden on families, which I've harped on quite a bit already. Schools must build partnerships with businesses, organizations, and volunteers to create a thriving support system. We've touched quite a bit on equity, making sure that students receive the resources they need, regardless of the income of their neighborhood. Sustainability, building systems and relationships that produce reliable funding year after year and not just one-time windfalls, right? We're not going to try and get our PTA we need $10,000 to fundraise for new smart boards, and then that's it, right? We want to build a system that can sustain itself even well after I'm not the principal anymore, um, or we have a new PTA president, something that works for the community and the people around us, as well as our students. Community partnerships is going to be the biggest one. Um, Reaching out to local businesses that are in the area of the school, and seeing what they can and are willing to provide for the school, because at the end of the day, this is probably a tax break for them, right? They have their benefits. What we lack at lower income uh, communities is kind of the knowledge and the like vernacular to approach these businesses and help them and help create that partnership, right? So as an administrative team, it's our job to facilitate that and get our parents and families to be aware of these types of partnerships. And then family accessibility, it needs to work for our community. Removing barriers of participation, like I've said previously, we don't need to say, well, we need $200 from each family to get started, right? We need to make sure that everybody can be involved and be some sort of um, assist in this, right? Because it takes a village. So strengthening our PTA, this is going to be a really big foundation. So as I mentioned before, time constraints. Many of these people are working multiple jobs and that have non-traditional hours. Financial limitations. We can't expect parents to just simply write a check and make all of the problems go away. Confidence gaps. Remember, I talked about that. A lot of families don't know that you can walk into a business and try and create a partnership there, and lack of structure. So this is where the confidence gaps and lack of structure. This is where the administration can come in and kind of create those systems and educate our community on how to navigate these two pieces. So here are some things that I plan on doing. Recruiting diverse representations for our parents' leadership team for the PTA. I don't want to simply have all of the moms who, are stay-at-home moms, right? We need to have a diverse representation of what our school looks like. Hold meetings at flexible morning and evening times. And a lot of times these will be virtual. So even if, you're out and about, you'll be able to join. Provide childcare during all meetings. Of course, that's an easy thing. Translate all material into home languages. This unfortunately won't be in real time. It'll be in the minutes that are emailed out to the parents. Publicly celebrate our volunteers and create simple low commitment roles so anyone can help, right? So we're going to have varying roles, all the way from president down to a volunteer for one event. So this is going to be our biggest challenge, but also I think our biggest opportunity. So businesses in our community are actively looking for ways to increase their local visibility. So schools are natural partners. So we can develop consistent relationships with local organizations and craft a mutual benefit, right? So we're not showing up asking them to only help us. There needs to be a mutual benefit. So here are some opportunities that I've thought about. Spirit nights at restaurants, where restaurants donate a percentage of sales on designated evenings. Those are always really successful. Percent of sales events, local retailers during a certain day or time or time frame even. We can benefit for percent of sales, because what we're doing is we're telling our kids in our community, hey, go here and shop here, right? Business sponsorships, name support for specific school programs or purchases. So for example, if we were to order a new shade for the playground, we can put donated by Republic Services and get some advertising out for them. And then employee volunteer days. Big companies love when they have scheduled volunteer days that are reoccurring. So we can again work with them on that. So some target partners that I think would be beneficial are restaurants and grocery stores, banks and retailers, hospitals and healthcare, churches and civic groups, and then small and local businesses. I'd like to focus more on the small and local businesses, just because our like a lot of our community in our zip code doesn't really have big hospitals, or churches that have a ton of money, but small and local businesses, we do have quite a bit of those. So grant writing is our biggest missed opportunity. Although grant writing is a skill, we can reach out into our community and find people who have experience with grant writing. And if not, we can find someone. There's a lot of money out there that can be given to us for free. Some places like Donors Choose, Walmart, Spark Good, Target Foundation, Lowe's Toolbox for Education, Best Buy Community Grants, and local community foundations. So these people quite literally have money to give out that they've allocated in their budget. And when you write a grant proposal to have this money, for example, on Donors Choose, teacher-led project funding platform, right? You're able to kind of explain what you're doing and how it will benefit your students and the community around us. So that's what a grant writing opportunity looks like. So I have a plan, or a suggested plan rather, for a campus grant community writing group. I want this to be a small dedicated committee, because I think sometimes when there's a lot of opinions or a lot of strategies, it can be a little overwhelming. So instead, I'd organize it like this. So a classroom teacher who knows instructional needs firsthand. So that'll be our campus leaders, our team leads, PTA members with writing or organizational skills. This will be the most important person to find, because this is a big ask. And then community volunteers with grant or nonprofit experience. This will be a monthly meeting, an additional meeting on top of the regular PTA meeting, where we assign writers, track deadlines, and create a systematic approach to winning funding. So, I would like to get to the point where it's like, okay, every year we submit a grant for the Lowe's Toolbox Education. Every year we submit a grant for the Best Buy Community Grants. And these are just some of the bigger ones that I've seen out there. There are thousands of them. So this is a good opportunity that we should definitely start to dip our toes in. Another option is our teacher mini grants. These are pretty neat because they are specifically tailored to teachers' needs. So when our teachers, I'm sure you guys have seen when they say this is the difference between a government-funded classroom and a teacher-funded classroom, right? Our teachers can get some help to make sure their classrooms are stocked with what they actually need. These are a little bit smaller, but still really neat. Donors Choose, Adopt a Classroom, and local. There's a couple local education foundations through some churches as well that have some mini grants that are specifically for teachers. Some support that you're going to get from our administration. I know I'm going to a grant writing workshop before the end of the summer. I hope to have a pre-written template that can kind of serve as a jumping off point. Obviously, my endorsement letter or recommendation letters for them. And of course, those celebration moments that I look forward to participating and hosting. So here's some family-friendly fundraising that could occur throughout the year. So traditional fundraisers like selling candy, wrapping paper, high-priced items can inadvertently exclude some families that have limited or lower income. So the goal is to design fundraisers that every student can participate in happily with pride. So here are some options: readathons or walkathons, where students collect pledges for minutes read or laps walked. Participation matters and not necessarily purchase amounts. Penny wars, this is always fun. Classroom competition using large spare change. This is low cost, but fun engagement, and of course, fun team building for classrooms. Recycling drives and yard sales. The recycling drives, we can actually get some of our community involved in this. I think um, our trash service and recycling services is waste management. So we can possibly use that as a jumping off point as well, where community members donate items or recyclables. No money is required from families, just time and contribution. And then school festivals. I know our Winterfest last year was very successful. We sold hot dogs, hamburgers. We had a couple raffles. We sold pizza. I know that there was a jumping balloon. These are always fun. And the teachers were super involved as well. So that was very successful. So the corporate sponsorship program, this is something that I took from my previous campus. There are actually tiers to the corporate donators. So if we get to this point, it'll be very exciting to kind of have different packages for the different corporate sponsorship. So there's 4 levels. If you are bronze, you get your business logo on our school website and mentioned in the monthly newsletter. If you are a silver, you get all of this, plus recognition on school banners displayed throughout the year. So like on our baseball fields, they'll have an ad on our baseball field. And if you're gold, you get all the silver and bronze benefits, plus social media posts and a dedicated thank you event thrown by our PTA. And if you're platinum, you get all the gold, silver, and bronze benefits, plus naming rights for a classroom or technology lab and a community appreciation ceremony. This is obviously a long-term goal, but it is neat. So one thing that I think as an elementary school we forget, right, is we actually do have alumni. We have a ton of students who have walked through these halls. So kind of tapping into that system, although challenging, I think still could be very rewarding. Some of the ways that I thought that we could tap into this is through an alumni Facebook page, which can create a central hub for connection. To share memories, we could post community events that alumni are welcome to. Annual alumni newsletter, I would say once every semester we can do this. Alumni giving campaign, right? Get our alumni a tax break. And then our alumni volunteer day, hands-on projects that welcome graduates back to campus. So volunteer hours for our students. While we are technically, we're an elementary school, we do have feeder schools that have high schools that have students that definitely need volunteer hours. And some ways that I know that we could use help as far as getting all of this started is hopefully technology installation once we get our technology, classroom painting and landscape projects, which can save thousands in contractor fees. Academic support tutoring for our kiddos, right? A high schooler can definitely tutor our kiddos on math, almost any subject, unless they have additional supports, but we can figure that out later. Career day and mentorship, bring those parents in, get them out here to show our students what a good career could look like. And then of course, event staffing, festivals, fun runs, anything of that sort. So our goal is to get equitable technology for every child, right? So when donors can see exactly what they're contributing, that can have a high impact on their confidence and of course increase generosity. So I have a 3-year plan. This year I would like to raise enough money to get projectors in every classroom. Our projectors are pretty outdated. Some of them are not calibrated anymore, so our teachers have a hard time writing on the boards. They're older. Sometimes our computers update and the 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 projector doesn't update with the computer and it's a mess. So that's year one. Year two, we've got our interactive smart boards, which enable hands-on learning. And then year three, I'd like to have individual devices for every student. This will ensure that every student has access to digital learning tools independently, but also at home if needed. That probably isn't super essential for our babies, but our upper level elementary kids do need access to technology at home. So the only way that we're going to get the word out is through social media on our school website. These two, Facebook and Instagram, will be the fastest way to reach out to our community. Our monthly newsletter will be sent to every family, but remember, we're not just trying to reach out to our families, we're trying to reach out to our community, as well as our small businesses in the area. So Facebook, Instagram, and even our school website will be most effective, but our monthly newspaper is still very essential. Some things that I would like to post on social media and kind of utilize on our different platforms are student success moments captured on camera, before and after classroom transformations, teacher spotlights on how technology has changed their instructions, impact reports on the donations, and then community partner features. So again, we're trying to build a system that will be sustainable for years to come, and that takes time. So I want to go through my 3-year plan of sustainability. So year one, we're building the foundation. That's this year. We're rebuilding our PTA structure. We're launching our initial business partnerships, and we're getting our feet wet with the grant application writing. And then we're establishing the technology for every student campaign. Year two, we're going to expand and systematize, which means, create systems. What did we do last year that went well? Use that. What can we improve upon from last year, et cetera, et cetera. So publish the annual fundraising calendar, formalize corporate sponsorship tiers, which we went over, host our first community appreciation event, and launch alumni network. And then year three, sustain and grow. Okay, achieve stable, predictable annual revenue, expand technology access to all classrooms, grow our grant portfolio, and then document and share our model with the district because it worked and it took us 3 years. So how are we going to measure success? If something's not working, it always needs to be improved, and we can find that out by using data-driven decisions about what is working, what is not, and what we need to adjust, and how we can communicate progress to community and district leadership. So some of our metrics for our community will be year-over-year increase in active membership and meeting attendance, volunteer hours logged, and business partnerships. Funding and impact metrics. This one will be a little bit harder to track, but will have a really big impact on our students. So what grants have we been awarded, and the total dollars secured, total dollars raised, teacher and student access, and then what technologies have been purchased with these grants or with this money. So equity is not achieved by giving every school the same resources. It is achieved by ensuring every student has what they need to succeed. So in order to do that, there are 3 things we need to focus on, is build relationships with businesses, family, alumni, and community organizations. Pursue every dollar that we can through grants, sponsorships, campaigns, and volunteer hours. And then measure what we've done, what has worked, what has not worked, and improve upon the data to refine strategies and demonstrate impact each year. Alrighty, so that brings us to a close. I hope this plan can get sent into action as soon as possible. Thank you so much.